Hey there, this is Daniel K now with Breakthrough Art, and I am here having an artist interview with Sara Ward. Sara Ward is an awesome artist from Montrose, Colorado, a previous client, and just a mover and shaker with the amount of stuff she has going on in her world. And I just want to welcome you, Sara. Welcome to my interview.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me. It's always nice to see you.
Yeah, and thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you're in school right now at the same time as producing really beautiful artwork. So it's an impressive process to watch you carve it out and make this work happen for yourself at the same time of balancing all the mental analytical work that you're doing.
Yeah, balance is a good word, though. I think it is a good balance. Just to sneak in either art or conversations about art, or although those can turn quickly really philosophical and feel just as heavy as doing my schoolwork.
Most definitely they can.
It's fun. It's a good pastime.
Good. So let's talk a little philosophy of art then. What does art mean to you? Why do you do it?
That's where you're going to start? That's like the question of my life. That's one of the reasons that I worked with you, is because I was kind of unclear about that. Like I know there's no question that I feel compelled to make art a lot. I'm not always sure why I'm doing it. And that can feel odd, to feel so passionate about something and then not be super grounded in the why. And so I think a lot of working with you was trying to kind of reconcile those two things. And what I've learned about myself just through my own process of being a creative adult is that I'm really, really, really interested in what it means to be human. And I think that I've just discovered that I believe that creativity is just a huge part of that. And so part of my need to be creative is attached to my need to understand myself as a human, I guess.
Would you say then that your objective as an artist, the goal you're searching for, is more inner knowledge through the process of your art making?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. I think that's something I'm just starting to realize. And so I'm like aware of that while I'm working a little bit more than I used to be aware of that, So yes, and it's helped to become aware that I'm just use it as a tool to explore my own self, but then also like how that kind of study and then expression affects my relationships with other people or to the world. So it's not just about me, it's about me relating to the rest of the world also. I'm just really interested in all that good stuff.
Well, tell me more about that, how you can relate deeper with yourself and with others in the world based on the art that you're making, like this painting behind you, whether it's your process or it's the ideation behind the work. Does that influence those relationships and the kind of self-dialogue?
Yeah, I think through, my interest in people in general, I've come to conclude that I think all humans are creative. I think it's a fundamental part of all of us, not just of artists. And so I'm interested in that entire process. And at different points in my exploration, I've been interested in like the end result. And sometimes I'm interested in the beginning, which is maybe like a spark of inspiration. Like it starts with inspiration and it ends with this kind of technically expressed product.
Right.
And I'm interested like with what's in between. And I think we all have that in between. Some people are more attentive to that gap and maybe they're what we end up calling artists. But I think everyone goes through that process. And so I'm interested in how what comes out of my process might penetrate into someone else's process. Like when you look at someone else's art and you're like, oh, I'm inspired by that. You're essentially taking the viewer back to their own starting point of creativity. And that's just, I don't know why that's fascinating to me because I'm a philosopher. It's just, I like that. So I think it has a lot to do with, it influences relationship and it helps us know each other and know ourselves. And appreciate our humanity and understand our potential to be creative in our lives in like all sorts of ways, not just in making giant weird paintings.
So I'm interested more in this idea of this space in between, this gap that you're referring to. Through the process of your painting, take for example the painting behind you, how did starting with the inspiration to getting to this endpoint, what was that gap? What was that liminal zone, that space in between of process? Can you describe it any further? Can you describe your process of how you were able to go through that? Was it an analytical space? Was it an intuitive space?
I think it has to be both. I think that it has come to be both. Before I understood that, I was using my creative process as a way to explore that gap in myself. Before I understood that, the gap felt kind of feverish and rushed because I was more focused on the kind of end result, the technically expressed product.
Right.
And so the gap felt really feverish. Like, I just need to get through this space. Like, I have this inspiration and I need to get it out and in a certain way. And so it was just this kind of, I mean, it's one of the reasons, it's one of the reasons that we ended up working together. Because I don't want this process that I feel so compelled to do and so passionate about to feel feverish. It's okay if it does sometimes, but at least I just wanted to have some more context for what was going on. So I think now, through my own work and through working with you, I've come to appreciate all parts of the process and how valuable and potent and rich they are, and how it's intuitive and analytical. And it's really interesting to watch those two things work together if you if I allow myself to kind of slow down and hang out in different parts of the process without feeling like I need to rush to the end.
So with the work that you have sitting with you, tell the audience, the viewers that are watching this, like, how long did it take you to do that? Like, I know this was not a smooth, easy, one-off piece of artwork of exploration. Describe what that journey was like.
Yeah, so this was, I definitely wanted to get out of my head, and I tend to be really analytical, and you and I had discussed that was, kind of something that would hang me up sometimes. And so I wanted to get out of my head, so I decided to listen to music the entire time that I created this piece, which sometimes can be distracting for me, but I listened to classical cello music in over the ear headphones the entire time. And that's a long time, because this took probably, I kind of black out and time gets weird. So, but I would think maybe 10 sessions, and however long I'm in a session, at least an hour.
Over a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah. I chose to. I know that I'm capable of being pretty prolific and cranking out things that look like technically pretty good and look beautiful and look interesting. And I was less interested in doing that because that didn't seem to fulfill me. And so I was more interested in hanging out in that middle part and forcing myself to slow down and be in that space between.
This was a piece that we talked about and that you went through that took many different renditions, and you allowed yourself to really go into that zone of letting go and working on it, changing it, and letting go and working on it and changing it, editing it, sketches and writing about it. That slowed down space. Did that feel different for you than that feverish space that you've been in before?
Yeah, it felt feverish in almost the opposite way for a minute. not feverish, but like there was a heat, like
Uh-huh.
the heat in the fever of getting to the end is just like this fever pitch, it's like this fast pace intensity, like a race kind of the heat you would get in a race. And then the heat that I felt slowing down was like the resistance. It was like there was friction because I was resisting an urge to just get it done. And so I did feel like when I was going through the process of writing about it, like, and thinking about it and turning it upside down and then redoing it, making sketches about it, that at first felt hard.
Mm-hmm. Those hard spaces, did that open up new possibilities for you as you kept exploring the same painting and to go deeper and to see what's next underneath it?
Yeah, I think it really helped me kind of tap into the intuitive part. Like my analytical mind kept wanting to be like, why am I doing this? And like, what does this have to do with what I'm gonna end with? And just this constant like analyzing and doing these parts of the process that are seemingly like to the naked eye seem like they don't matter to the end result. Like some parts of the process that I went through look nothing like this, like not even conceptually like this. And so that I understand now that that was just me tapping into my intuition and like creating interesting threads between things that don't seem like analytically correct.
I'd love if you could perhaps stand up and kind of just so we could see the whole painting, and then you could actually talk about the parts of the painting you can point to and kind of describe either your process or the aspects to you that have the strength, have the power, have the light, have the calm from your own perspective as you perceive it now, talking about live with your cat walking in front, just to give us kind of a view from Sarah's mind into her painting.
I mean, I don't, for the sake of this, I'll try to do that, but I have to admit that's like not something, not that I'm not comfortable with, but like I showed someone and they were like, oh, like what color, like if you were just, it was spontaneous, like what color, what emotion was this? And like that's for whatever reason, that's not how, sorry, everything's backwards, so I keep moving the camera around. That's not how I think about it or relate to it.
And I
So I'm
understand
not
that.
sure what
So
you're asking me.
if you were to describe this painting to someone, you had it in a restaurant or a gallery, and someone says, just tell me about it. Just tell us about it in your own words. I'm not wanting to force you into talking about an emotion or a technical academic strategy. I'm just interested from you to, you've talked about the process and having inspiration in the beginning, and now you could be at the end point. Maybe you work on it again next year. Maybe you never touch it again.
I actually sealed it.
Okay, well, so
and I signed and sealed it.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, yeah, whatever comes up for you.
So I think if I had to put words to it, which I don't know why I'm resistant to ever doing that. It could just be like an insecure artist thing, or it could be that I like to not like impress. I don't like to make an impression on someone's mind when they're having an experience with it. I want it to be more like whatever. If it like penetrates and inspires something in you, I don't want to like mold that.
That's fair.
I think it's like it's definitely an expression of the process. Sorry, I literally don't know how to work backwards. It's like it's a reflection or an expression of the process that I went through, and then I allowed so I went through this process where I kind of worked with my intuition and my analytical mind. So I explored these two different aspects of myself. Like I'm an intuitive person and I'm an analytical person. And I've attended to both of those parts of myself for a decent amount of time. And now I'm going to kind of spontaneously let this body express this self, that part, those parts of myself. And this is what happened.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very clear, it's clear and it's vague, but at the same time, it's you, and it's like your interpretation of something you've done. And that's often not an easy thing to express. And I appreciate you being honest and having the integrity to just talk about the process and what it did for you. So, Sara, as you know, we've known you for quite some time, and I know you're studying philosophy right now in school, and you also have a history teaching yoga. So you have a kind of a spiritual practice, and you have very like had an intuition with your body and how bodies work and so forth, and also what's bigger and greater than all of us. How do you see art having a place in this chaotic world we live in? What is the benefits, or what can humans, you feel like, or your, doesn't have to be your place as an artist, but art in general, to help fill that gap, to create relationships, to create bridges, to create knowing and knowledge, and also just inspiration and love? What do you see that bigger picture as art being in the world?
I mean, I think that there's something that we intuitively understand about art being like a human project. Whether we can always articulate why we think that's so, there's something, we see art and we just know a human did it. And so there's something interesting in that for me. And I think it comes back to just knowing ourselves as creative beings and what that means to every aspect of our life, and being able to see that creativity throughout all of history. Like, as long as we've known humans have been around, we've found, almost as long, we've found art, you know, alongside artifacts. And I think that just says something about us. And that's really interesting to me. I mean, I know that art can be used.
What does it say about us, do you think?
It says that we're a certain type of creature. And if we know that we're a certain type of creature, we have a way, that's a starting point to explore our potential and our capacities, and to see where we're ignoring the type of creature that we are. Like, where are we not being creative in our lives? If we know we're creative creatures, because we tend towards this creative project, no matter what culture, no matter what time in history, we tend to engage in these types of projects. You know, how do we apply that to being like civilized and living together and engaging in sophisticated relationships and being in a relationship with the planet and with, you know, people that we see that are different than us, but we know that we're all the same type of creatures. I think it's like hugely important. It's not even important, but like impossible to take it out of the equation.
If it was taken out of the equation, what do you think the result would be?
I almost feel like it's a question that doesn't even make sense. Like, I bet that would strike most people as a question that's like, doesn't seem right. Like, I don't think it ever would be. Like, it doesn't seem like, with everything that's happened, with as bad as the world has gotten in some different historical periods, there was still art. Like, I just think it's something we will always do. I think if you took it out of the picture, we would be a totally different type of creature, and I can't imagine what that would be.
Yeah, it's something to consider, and I'm glad to not be there, and to be able to make art myself, and to be able to see someone like yourself make art and work with others. And there's that light that you're able to produce as an artist. And the painting you have there is, it emanates a beauty, and it emanates a knowing, where you look at it and you have to combine that analytical and that intuitive mind. So I think, like you said, it is an integral part of our human pattern going forward and going back thousands and thousands of years. what was for you the benefit of working with a coach like myself to help you go forward with this painting different than what you were doing before, if you don't mind sharing that?
Yeah, I think artists just get stuck for all sorts of reasons, and it's because this process that we go through is long and complicated. And sometimes we're aware that we're going through a process, a long and complicated
Yeah.
process. Sometimes we're not even aware of that. And so, um, working with someone that has experience, a ton of experience like yourself, and an outside perspective helps to shed light on things that we're missing, like something that we're not seeing as far as, if you light up the obstacle, I can see my way through it. And
Right.
that's what you really did for help me with.
Well, I'm glad that happened for you.
Yeah, me too.
Was there any in particular obstacle that was lit up enough for you to either see or to break through or to incorporate within your work that is it going to allow you to do this work and also to look going forward with the work that you want to do in the future as tools to take in your quiver?
Yeah, for sure. I think that you helped me reconcile these two like major aspects of my life, that this philosophical, like incessantly philosophical part of myself. I'm super interested in this humans and the fact that I can't stop being creative. Um, you help me kind of bridge the gap and show me that those are the same thing and that there's a way I can, recognize how they're the same and how they're connected. And then you really help me to set my analytical process aside long enough to explore this intuitive part and then bring them back together so that they're at least kind of on an even ground.
Yeah, it's like you said in the beginning, that balance. We talked about your life schedule and making the work. I feel like I was able to help you provide some balance into your work and hopefully coming forward. Do you have ideas of where you want to go with work in the future? Artwork in the future, shall we say?
Yeah, I have some ideas and they're not fully formed, and I'm okay with that, which in the past I wouldn't have. I would have had ideas and like feverishly figured out how to form them. So I can't answer the question in a really specific way, except, yeah, I have some inspiration and I'm kind of just hanging out at that point right now. And that's what's new for me.
And that's a beautiful thing, because from what I do know about you, that inspiration just hanging like a fruit on a tree and
Mhm.
not having a structured plan. I congratulate you on being able to kind of surrender to that and just let that be and sit, so that your creativity just stays as being important and fulfilled, with potential process to come out of the multiple directions you can go from that inspiration that's just forming.
Yeah, you were very helpful in helping me get here. So
How do you foresee your educational track that you're on? And this could be it's very hypothetical. How does that going to tie into your world as an artist with the stuff that you're studying? Do you have any perspective or any dreams with that?
I mean, I don't know if it'll be like specifically in the way of you like art therapy or something like that. I'm studying philosophy and psychology.
Mm-hmm.
But since I have been able to reconcile this like creativity with these philosophical ideas I have and interests I have in like understanding people, and it's the reason that I was so excited and am so excited about yoga and Eastern philosophies, because they're really interested in that subjective experience. And
Mm-hmm.
as we've just talked about for a half an hour, art is about this subjective process. And
Yes.
so I think they just will never stop being married in my mind. And I'll, as a, you know, a teacher, which I've been in the past, or in the future as a, mental health professional, I'll always see people as creative creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that means people end up making art or use the art in the way that we think about it as a way to understand themselves or not, I think there's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of ways you could take that.
Yeah, that's very inspiring for myself to see, and to see where it's going to go for you. I love how your integration into the philosophy, into Asian detachment, and the idea of impermanence, as well as just the human condition, are all aspects of where your work is going. And you inspire me as an artist to watch your growth, to see the work that you've produced before working with me, the work that you're producing now. And I'm definitely excited and very interested to be touching base with you again in the future and see how your work continues to develop, especially as you continue to dive deeper into your education and bringing that psychology and philosophy integrated within that creative condition and that creative understanding of humanity.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I have kind of a long trajectory for myself. So I'm just like, I'm a student right now. I'm a student forever, but I'm a student for like technically right now. And it's such an amazing process. I'm really like open to all of this really amazing stuff that I'm learning, and being in rooms full of highly intelligent, philosophical, creative people that are interested in involving me in interesting conversations. So I'm just taking full advantage of that and using my own creative process as a way to keep myself healthy and focused
Mm-hmm.
and not exhausted.
You are finding that the art, like going outside and exercising, is also filling you up in the gaps between your studies.
Yeah, I have to manage my energy really carefully, and I still have those tendencies. Like I haven't, you know, changing is not easy. And so I still have tendencies to rush through process or do things in a certain way. And so I just have, I luckily being a yogi, I've like developed the skill of keeping a close eye on myself. And so I can see those tendencies kind of starting to play out. And so I don't constantly make art because sometimes it does drain my energy because of the tendency to do it in a certain way. So I'll step back and
Mm-hmm.
think about art. Maybe I'll hike and think about, that's kind of that part of hanging out in the inspiration phase. Just because I'm not sitting at my canvas working out the last part of the process doesn't mean I'm not hiking in the gulch, engaging with the first part of the process of
Yeah.
and so I think I'm probably always doing that.
Excellent. Is there anything further you'd like to share about the purpose, meaning of art, your process, why you do art, why the world needs it?
I mean, I think we did a good job of covering why I do art. I think that the meaning of art, I'm in an aesthetics class right now, and it blows my mind like every day. The things that we discuss and how hard it is to nail down a meaning of art. And so I don't think that this is a good time or a platform for me to take that challenge on. I'm not sure.
We'll have to follow up and have that conversation again for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, or we can have a panel discussion.
There you go. Love that. Well, thank you very much, Sarah. It's an illuminating conversation, and working with you has been very just exciting. And your willingness to step into, I think when we first started, you said, I just want to get vulnerable with my work. And I think you did that. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely felt like that.
So, I appreciate you stepping up to do something really difficult, which most artists would not make that proclamation of why I want to go work with someone and go deep into my work, is to get vulnerable and go into that gap, that space in between, and sit there with it. And, the beautiful artwork you have behind you is a testament to that process. And technically at the end is a very beautiful composition, a very beautiful piece of artwork. So let's continue to stay in touch. Thank you very much for taking a half hour out of your work and school day, and look forward to the next time.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the whole process, and I will definitely keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you all for watching another artist interview with Sara Ward from Montrose, Colorado, previous one-on-one coaching client. And stay tuned for more artist interviews and Facebook Lives and anecdotes as the weeks go on. I look forward to seeing y'all next week. Thank you very much.